Welcome to the Football Biz Formula, presented by SFS in partnership with BuzzMyVideos, the podcast where innovation drives the future of football and sports industry, hosted by Paola Marinone. Let's kick off.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Football Biz Formula. I am Paola Marinone, co-founder and CEO of BuzzMyVideos, and I'm here with Nick Cicero, founder and CEO of Mondo Metrics. Welcome to the first episode of the podcast, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me, Paola. I love the Social Football Summit. I was able to attend a couple of years ago with you, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you're a good old friend of the Social Football Summit, and I hope to see you again in November this year.
Yes. I also noticed that this podcast is making me look bald when I sit back, and I still do have some hair left.
Okay, so we're gonna check it out in person at the next edition of the summit.
That's right.
Right. Why do we have Nick Cicero in the first podcast episode today? Nick has been in the digital space for 2 decades at least. He has been involved in anything. He's a builder at core, and he has been involved in anything that is data driven at core, very much technology driven and sports driven. So we thought he was the perfect first guest to invite to talk about the future of the business and data for football. So thank you for being the first guest.
Great to be here.
All right, so let's get started. You're an innovator by default, so you're always trying to push the boundaries, and you've been always working with different platforms, from the very old ones. Some are not here anymore, and some are like here with other names. And you always work with sports from different perspective and involved in both continents, both in Americas and Europe. You're based in New York, so you're very, very familiar with North American sports as well, which is very interesting to learn more from. Can you share results and key learnings from your experience? Anything that you thought it was very interesting that would be interesting for the audience?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like the old man in the social video world today, because when I first started college, Facebook was just coming out. It was the brand new platform. I had to go and ask my best friend in high school, like, if he had a digital camera, and he was kind of like the cool kid on the block who always had all the gadgets and things. And we didn't, our friends, we didn't even know how to like get a picture up on the internet at that time. And so over the last 20 years or so, it's kind of wild to see where we've come. And so personally myself, right, I about 12 years or so ago, there was this massive shift that was starting with video, especially in the world of sports and media and entertainment, right? As more fans, more people were consuming content. And I've basically spent my whole career helping sports and media companies really measure that attention and this shift of behavior from people moving from reading magazines and newspapers and watching TV programs to now getting all their news through social media, watching video clips, highlights, live shows. And so I previously started a company called Del Mondo, where we built the first analytics for Snapchat and Instagram stories and Facebook Live. We grew and we worked with a lot of really great companies like UEFA, the NFL. We were acquired a few years back by another company, Conviva. And then inside of Conviva, I continued to work on video analytics with great companies like Peacock and DAZN and Hulu and all of these really great organizations. And so today I've built a company called Mondo Metrics that really elevates all of that to unify podcast, social, video analytics all into one system. So whether it's athletes, creators, podcasters, or sports teams themselves, they can really focus on what's working, not just what are the different trends that happen, because every single day there's a new shiny object or a flashy item that pops in. And so some of the results, I mean, we have seen a lot of different growth with the companies that I've worked with, but even just recently, the amount of time that people are able to save by having a really strong and robust data strategy is pretty amazing. So right now we have a client called Be Known Agency, and they work with a lot of the sports broadcasting personalities like Rich Eisen, Jalen Rose, Sage Steele. So a lot of those TV broadcasters or those commentators who now have radio shows, podcasts, right? And they were spending 10 hours a week just trying to pull insights and analyze the data so they could make better content for them, right? And so we were able to save them back a significant amount of time, but then also grow a lot of their content performance. So they ended up hitting about 250 million views in the last quarter, which was a 60% increase from the previous quarter before that. So without having to spend as much time collecting all this data and processing this data, that means that sports teams can actually make better decisions and then measure that attention for those fans across all these platforms.
So data has been always very important. It's just very, very hard to capture and to take decisions on it. But ultimately, that's the key point. It has been, is, and will be very important.
Yeah, there's so many different platforms, and in the world of sports, we have so many different angles of content that we cover too, right? So a lot of it is thinking about content as strategic inventory, right? So when you treat your content more like a business asset, not just the creative, as you know, a lot of brands have traditionally thought about social media creative as a place to market yourself. Well, as we've seen with the stats of the amount of time that people are spending on these social platforms, they're not there to be marketed to. They're actually there to consume the content, and that's their entertainment. And so I think that we're seeing that a lot of these sports organizations are recognizing that, and they can really own the relationship with the fan by having a strong connection through content.
And tell me a bit more about the future now. So, I mean, you have been leading in innovation like for a while now, but let's not talk about the past. What is the key future trend that you see that is going to be crucial for growth in football?
Yeah, I think that it's all about audience intelligence and understanding who these fans are instead of just how many times they're doing certain types of activities. So we have, especially in the world of digital media and marketing, we've kind of gotten to this point where we're chasing eyeballs, chasing views, chasing impressions. And there's certainly a world where we want to quantify all of that for sure. But the next wave of growth, though, I think is really going to come from who is engaging, not just how many of them, right? So clubs, leagues, athletes, they're sitting on this massive amount of untapped audience intelligence, whether that's email subscribers, people that listen to your podcasts, people that are clicking over from Linktree or buying products from us, even how we engage our social followers and how we serve up valuable opportunities to get more information about them. The problem is that none of this is really well connected. And that's why you hear about really interesting, use cases or case studies. Like I know that, Spotify in Barcelona has been one that's really well cited where they're trying to understand a better quality of fan data. But right now, none of that data really talks to each other. So as more companies try to build subscription products or they want to get more fans into the games, into the stadium, right, we have a lot more information that we can measure about these people and connect that back to the content experiences that they have. So for me, that's what I think about. It's not just about chasing the number of views that we have, but trying to find out more about who are the people that engage with us, and whether that's online with content, whether that's through the shop, the products that we sell them, or the in-person events that we bring them to.
Absolutely, and well, having the right data and and using that for business is going to be pivotal. There's no doubt. I was reading the other day actually about a YouTuber that went to VC funding. I mean, it might be seem different, but it's not really. He was going to for VC funding, and he was like, "I want to launch this product. I already have the audience. I have all of the data of the audience. I can already forecast the revenue because I've done that, for other products that I launched. I just need the money to launch it, and I already know what is the multiplier that is needed there, and I can forecast sales, pure sales, based on the data that I already have, period. And I can see that for clubs, I can see that for leagues, I can see that whoever has the audience. If you go deeper, then you can just really think about new revenue streams, how to use that for business, for real.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the key here, right? Is that we and sports clubs in particular, they have the content that people want to go to these platforms for. But once again, there's obviously the walled gardens themselves, right? Like they want to keep you on the platform, and that is of benefit to all of these sports clubs. But you also have to then take the time to understand who your fans are when you're on there, because a lot of the time you can create the right content that fits for the platform, that builds the right relationship with the fan, right? I think that's the big thing here. It's not like it's not always a one size fits all approach. It's just we have this new ability to reach people in the way that they want to be reached. And sometimes that's in a short form video. Sometimes, as we're seeing with YouTube, it's in a long piece of content or a full-length television style series that people are just consuming on YouTube. And so the audiences are changing, the way that they consume content is continuing to get fragmented. And if you're able to understand who is watching that content or who is coming to your site or who's coming into your stadium, you're going to be able to personalize the experience for them a lot better. Right? If you understand the life stage that they're in or the things that they might be going through, there's a lot of ways that we can take that more audience-centric approach into the content that we're creating, and then connect more emotionally with people as well, right? And that's the ultimate goal, is not just to be a logo that you swipe past through your day as somebody else is going through Instagram. It's make somebody want to stop and have to see every piece of content that your club puts out there because they're a diehard fan and they got to share it with their other fans of the club because they want to have that conversation and look like that they're just as much of a fan as their next friend, and that all that comes from having those really personal relationships, not just like blasting things out there that you think editorially is the right direction.
Understood. And third and last question for you. You're a data guy, so you're probably very familiar with the answer to this question. So for senior leaders in the football industry, if they have to look at one type of value, a KPI that is going to be important, what is this KPI that you think you suggest to look at very closely?
Yeah. I would say that the metric would be minutes consumed per fan. And it's really, once again, it's not just about the impressions anymore. It's really about the depth and how you're engaging. Right. So I wrote a post the other day and talking about this, how every social media platform, for example, pretty much now counts their view the second that a piece of content loads on the screen, whether that's a Facebook video, an Instagram video, a piece of content on X or on TikTok. Right? YouTube is kind of the one holdout, although even the shorts are still kind of getting counted in that same quality, right? Which means it's really easy for a popular sports team to rack up billions and billions of views on all of these platforms. But the real question is, how long are they spending with your content, right? I would much rather have 10,000 people that are spending 10 minutes, 20 minutes with my content than 100,000 people that maybe spent 1 second or 2 seconds and then swipe by, right? And that doesn't just mean social media or digital content. That also means time spent with your brand by events. How many people do you bring out to events, and what types of community activities are you doing? It means the time that they spend with your brand when they come into the stadium, when they're actually enjoying and consuming the game, right? As well as then the amount of digital reach that you're able to show. And that can be newsletters, that can be with podcasts, that can be with social media. But it doesn't really matter whether you're publishing a 30-second TikTok or a 30-minute podcast. The one thing that we all have is that we only have 24 hours in a day. And sure, we may have multiple different types of devices, but the ones that bubble up, that surface more than the others, those are going to be the ones that stand out, the ones that I spend the most amount of time on. Sure, I might be watching something up on my television, but if I'm sitting there for a lot longer consuming content on a YouTube video or on a TikTok, and you're able to see that your audience spends a lot more time there than the amount of time that you're up on the big screen, well, there's obviously some type of relationship or connection that they have with the things that you're putting out on those platforms that are over-indexing on time spent. So most all of the platforms now offer some form of time spent. And same thing, you as an organization can also look to estimate the amount of time spent, whether that's through the events that you're throwing, the games that you have, and the attendance that you have inside of those games. So it is possible to kind of create this global 360 view of the minutes consumed per fan. And I think we're going to start to see more companies talking about that to give a holistic representation to both the digital and in-person experience.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, Nick. This is all for the first episode. Thank you for being with us. And to everybody in the audience, we're looking forward to see you and to the next episode. Thank you. And go check out all of the socials of Social Football Summit, and see you soon. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.